Hello and good morning, dear friends. Today we will be doing TFT 4 for T21 aspirants. The topic for today is sociology and common sense. It falls under paper 1, topic 1C. We have completed topics 1A and B, but some people are facing difficulties in topic like emergence of sociology, modernity. So what we are going to do is we will share a write-up for these topics, for modernity and for emergence. Okay. So today's topic is sociology and common sense. There are two kinds of questions that are asked from today's portion. These are, first one, distinguish between sociology and common sense, and second one is sociology, common sense. So for the first part, you simply have to write the differences, give examples. So it is a straightforward question. But second one is a bit dicey, tricky, you can say. So what you have to do is you have to write that yes, sociology can be considered common sense. You also have to write no. That means you have to write both the sides of the coin. Okay. So here you will mention the similarity and here you will mention the differences. Now you are not going to write your own view. You have to simply write that this is the similarity and you have to start mentioning the thinker's perspective. You should remember that in sociology, thinkers form the base of this subject. So you are not supposed to write your own view. Even similarity you will write on the basis of thinkers. Difference also you will write from the thinker's perspective. Okay. So for the second part of the question, that is sociology common sense, you will be writing for the motion, then against the motion, like a debate, and then you will write a conclusion. These two things you will write from the thinker's perspective. Now in this topic, that is today's TFT 4, we are going to deal with both these types of questions. Before attending those questions, we should understand what is common sense. We hear this in our day-to-day life, but what exactly is this? Have we tried to define it? Firstly, we have conventional truths, age-old wisdoms, which have been carried over since eternity, since ancient times, and we may have heard them from our grandparents. They must have said, okay, don't do this, do this, because they must have given some explanation. Okay. Now that time we obeyed them without any questions. But today when we look back, we might realize that scientifically these do's and don'ts had no backing. But since they were some kind of wisdom, some kind of truth, therefore we followed them. Now there is another kind of common sense which is opposite, which might not be useful. That is what sociology is concerned with. This kind of common sense might be harmful to society. These are general or generic statements which are overloaded with prejudices. They might be stereotypes. For example, there might be statements about the poor, about the blacks, about women, about the aged, right? Examples, for example, the poor, they might say that they are the ones who commit crimes. Black ones, they are usually not that educated or not that developed intellectually, they might say. Similarly, for women, they are less than men. They cannot do the job of men. For example, they cannot do scientific research. For aged, that they cannot learn after a certain age. So these are some kind of statements, general statements, commonsensical statements, but these are harmful. Okay. With the advent of reason was born the spirit of questioning. So whatever truths that we were fed since our childhood, we started questioning them. We started looking for scientific explanations, or we wanted to refute them. We wanted to deny them, that no, this is not true because it cannot be backed scientifically. Now, what is a characteristic of a science? Why are we saying, or why were we saying that common sense statements cannot be accepted blindly? Science is something that can be experimented. It can be tested. It can be proved. It is based on facts, factual data. That means what can be observed, empirical. This is another name. It can be researched. Researched means there is a laboratory. You carry an experiment and you repeat, and you will get the same result. So there is a kind of universality, right? For example, we have laws, Newton's laws, thermodynamics laws. Then we have conservation of energy, the principle of conservation of energy. This holds true everywhere. This is what is meant by science. So when sociology emerged, then I have told you before that we were influenced by Darwin hugely and other natural sciences also. Natural sciences means physics, chemistry, biology, all those sciences which can be experimented. So we thought that we are going to develop sociology on the lines of natural sciences. That means it will have a proper research backing. There will be laws, there will be labs where experiments could be carried out. Okay, and these laws would be universal. And sociology would be objective. Okay, that means just like science, we could repeat it and we would get the same results. It would not include any values or prejudices. It would be value neutral. So we were looking for a logical discipline, and just like science where external stimulus or external forces, they produce a certain response or change. Similarly, the early sociologists, they were the positivists. They thought that in society also external forces act and thus producing a reaction in the human beings in society. So human behavior was always dictated by something external. This is what sociology was looking for as it sought to establish itself as on the lines of a natural science discipline. Now there was a dilemma. We were a social science. We were going to study humanity, human beings. But on the other side, we were looking over at natural sciences or the physical sciences, and we wanted to establish ourselves as an objective. discipline, logical discipline. Aren't these two contradictory? Yet the initial sociologists, they insisted that no, we will establish ourselves as a unique discipline, different from the other social sciences. We will have certain laws and we will make it objective as well as value neutral. Our prejudices won't come in the picture. So, the task before the sociologist was to differentiate sociology from common sense. In the common sense also, certain general statements are made. Sometimes with backing, sometimes without backing. Most of the times they cannot be proved scientifically. So, sociologists said, the mainstream sociologists, that we are going to establish a discipline, sociology, and this will have nothing to do with common sense. Why? Because common sense, it was very individualistic. That means whatever explanations was given could be applied only for one particular case or max 2 cases. It could not be applied universally. On the other hand, they were looking to establish sociology as a scientific discipline, and here the laws would be universal, which could be proved scientifically. Also, here there was no questioning involved, there was no reasoning involved. The common sense questions, they could not be dug deep. We could not go for a why analysis, that why this happened like this. We could not do for common sense. But for sociological events or sociological issues, we were looking for a team of investigation, research, so that we could dig deep into those issues and finally we could arrive at a consensus. We could also maybe form laws which would be universal in nature. When we are studying about those sociologists who said the sociology and common sense has nothing in common, you have to study two thinkers. First one, Durkheim, and second will be the Marxists as a whole. Durkheim said that common sense should be kept separate from sociology because it contains certain prejudices, value-laden statements. Value means, what does value mean? It can be subjective with full of meaning, and it may differ from person to person. So this aspect they did not want to include. So Durkheim said it should be separate because it contains prejudices. Another group, the Marxists, they said that common sense was like an ideology, right? Common sense was like an ideology. That means it was a set of beliefs, and that is what it should be left like that, and it cannot help us in understanding society. So it was just limited set of beliefs. Probably for 1-2 instances it can give some explanation, but society as a whole it will not be able to explain. Thus said the Marxists. The second set of thinkers are those who studied common sense or the everyday knowledge. This is what they called it. So they were known as the interpretivists. Interpretivists. That means they went for values, they went for meanings, they went for the subjective aspect of society, and they said the sociology is related to everyday knowledge and it has values, it has meanings, it is subjective because it is the study of human beings. These two disciplines are phenomenology and this is ethnomethodology. Okay, ethnomethodology means people's method. Ethno is people. Phenomenology, this was given by Schutz, Berger, Luckman. This was given by Garfinkel. Here the phenomenologists, they said that man was creative and it created meaning out of these common sense, the everyday knowledge, and he created or he constructed a social world. Right? So can you see why the mainstream sociologists would not agree with this definition? Because here man is constructing the social world, but for mainstream sociologists it was something external. Social structure was something external which affected human beings. Now here the ethnomethodologists, what they said, that this common sense knowledge, it was orderly and it was organized by people. People could also be called the actors, and what they said that even sociologists, they use this knowledge, okay, that is the common sense, during research. A social research cannot be said to be purely objective, because even while selecting the data, even while selecting the event to be studied, a sociologist was being subjective because an element of choice was there. This is what these two theorists or these schools of thought said, and they critiqued the mainstream sociologists. The next group of thinkers, although they did not study common sense per se, but they were in favor of a value-centric sociology. They could be termed under the interpretivists and not positivists. Positivists are the ones who were looking for a logical sociology, an objective sociology, and they were looking for a subjective sociology with meaning. Right? So these are known as the symbolic interactionists, and the other is the theory of structuration. Now in symbolic interactionists, it is proposed that human beings, they interact through symbols. Thus, what does symbol mean? That means every interaction is given a certain meaning, a certain symbol, which is specific to a human being. It cannot be universal. It differs. And with this interaction, with these meanings, a human being, a man, constructs a notion of self on the basis of his interaction. It is a kind of introspection, reflection, and he takes the role of other human beings. While interacting, he sees himself through the eyes of others and he forms an image of himself. Okay, so he forms a sense of esteem, you can say. So this cannot be logical. This will differ from one person to another. This cannot be proved. It is subjective in nature. Now the other school, which is the structuration theory, it was proposed by Giddens. He said that the actors or man in society, they are known as actors because they act, human action. Right? So this knowledge of the actors, it gives a coherence, a meaning, a structure to man, and even the social practices, the social actions, they are they form a structure. Thus you can say in both these cases man is creating, and as opposed to the positivists who said that man was under the influence of something external and it is not because of certain internal force, while these thinkers, the interpretivists as well as the structuration theory, said that there was an internal mechanism that was in progress, that was taking place, that was guiding man. So in today's topic, sociology and common sense, this will include two schools of thought or two types of thinking. Okay. First one, who were the interpretivists, and the second one were the positivists. They were the mainstream sociology because in the beginning they were the ones who put forth the request for the establishment of science or a scientific discipline. Now the phenomenologists, then we have ethnomethodology, then we have symbolic interactionists, then we have the structuration theory. Here in the positivists we would write about Durkheim, functionalism. His theory is known as functionalism, and the Marxist, not Weber but Karl Marx. Okay. Now you have to explain all these points and then you have to write a middle path conclusion. That is most important in this question, because we cannot be rigid and say that sociology is not common sense or sociology is common sense, because we have both sides to see. Okay. For the sources to be followed, I have attached NCERT class 11th few pages. It gives only the difference part of the question, and there is another link. Okay, please go through it. Don't think that it is a link so I will do it later. No, please read it just after this lecture. We are going to provide a note later on. Okay, this is because when you watch the video and then you have doubts and then you read the note, then it will be easier for you to absorb this knowledge or assimilate this knowledge, take in, right? So this will be a kind of active learning. Therefore we are going to provide this note a few days later. Another portion that we are going to provide a note on is on modernity and emergence of sociology. Some people, they were having doubts, so we are going to provide these notes later on. Okay, so please go through this, please go through the NCERT, please go through the link, and then drop a message on our group Brainstorming Sociology, and you can also put your queries or any other further clarification that you want. Have a good day. All the best.